So what are they after? What's the big picture? Why are they doing all these crazy things? I think we all want to know, right? When we look at the circus and we're trying to analyze the clowns, like, why are they doing this? This doesn't make sense. Who does this serve? What's going on, right? It seems super chaotic, and I think a lot of people are trying to figure out what's the end game, right? And one thing to keep in mind is that the chaos is intentional, because chaos produces fear, and it's hard for people to organize or to fight or resist when they're in fear. And keep in mind also that terror, we need a word for that. Yeah, let's call it mirror. So mirrorist projects are designed to instill fear in people by demonstrating, that bad things can happen. And so people are shown really scary things, and with the goal of, oh, you better not do X or this might happen to you. So let's call that a mirror effect or a mirrorist project. And so we have to start thinking of the circus in terms of this mirrorist project. All right, so let's get back to the story. So this circus came to town, right? And there were all these clowns running things, and some people found them entertaining, but most people did not. And they were causing a lot of, kind of chaos and upset and confusion. And the townspeople were really confused as to what was their end goal. Like, why was this circus creating so much chaos when you would expect a circus to create entertainment and opportunity? And the townspeople were really wondering, like, why couldn't the mayor and like the town assembly members who were elected by the people, why couldn't they do anything, or why weren't they doing enough, or what were they doing? And then even amongst themselves, the people who were organizing like their anti-circus people parades, they were still a little bit baffled by what was really going on. But then the crystal gazers started to explain some things, and they said, people, there's a bigger picture here. There's a bigger plan. It's not about what you're seeing. It's not about these little projects. And what the crystal gazers explained was that the bigger picture was that the circus wasn't just trying to send out cold water clown cars and kidnap random people. They weren't just trying to steal all the gold from the town treasury, and they weren't just trying to start battles with other realms, but in fact their bigger project was to destabilize the entire realm. And this is why a lot of the things that they were doing were creating all of these problems where things weren't functioning anymore, and like the services that the people in the town were accustomed to having were no longer available, and people were starting to kind of panic because they couldn't get their mail, they couldn't get their groceries, they couldn't get just the normal things that you would get in a town. They were having a hard time getting. So like the cable cars in the town and the roads in the town were no longer functioning. And it seemed like the town council and the mayor were no longer able to do their jobs either. If you look at all of this together, you see that the overall effect of the circus coming to town was a complete destabilization of everything that previously organized the town and made it work. So the goal was never to make the town more efficient or to have it run on a smaller budget. And the goal wasn't even just power over certain people, or it wasn't even just going after certain groups in favor of other groups, although these were all components of the overall agenda of the circus. But the bigger picture is important because it connects to our bigger picture as spiritual people. We have a purpose here. And when we understand the role of the circus in the ascension of the planet, then we can actually start to address it more effectively. So why can't the mayor and the council members of the town do anything, or why won't they do anything, or why are they doing very little? It's because they are heavily invested in the current system, and they're trying to save it. They're trying to keep the current system in place, the system that the circus is trying to destroy. But here's the problem. Nobody's keeping the system in place. And this is the really hard part, right? Nobody wants to really deal with this. The fact that we are losing the system that we've had for the last couple hundred years. We are losing it. And there's really no way to avoid that. And the people who are trying to hold on to it are just slowing down the evolution. They're just slowing down the ascension. And a lot of the reason why the people in positions of power are trying to hold on to the system is because they want to keep their power. And they're very wedded to power and money. And the new world that's being birthed is not going to be centering power or money. It's also not going to be centering, people of a particular gender, and it's not going to be centering people of a particular hue. Because we're birthing this whole new world on every level. And so spiritually, we are entering a whole new world. We're creating a whole new world. And we have these villains, right, who are trying to burn everything to the ground, right? And that looks really bad. And it is really bad because people are getting harmed. But when we look at it from a bigger picture, we can see how the only way we can adequately respond to the clowns who are burning things to the ground is to recognize that we have to create something new. We can't save those burnt out buildings. We've got to build new buildings, right? And so like the circus is sending out these little clown cars, and some of them are cold water clown cars, and some of them are fire cars. Some of them are, spraying out cold water and freezing people, and others are burning things to the ground. And these are just two sides of the same coin. And so we can run around and try to put out each little fire and try to address each flood, and we can try to run around and try to stop each little ice clown car. But if we do that and we don't simultaneously have a bigger plan about how to build something entirely new, we're just going to wear ourselves out and we're going to feel like we didn't accomplish enough. And that's where a lot of us are, right? A lot of us are exhausted from putting out all these fires and trying to save all these folks and trying to walk in all these parades and trying to engage in all of these activities to try to stop all of the madness. And so what I want to call upon you to do is I want you to call upon you to vision the future you want to see, the world you want to see, and how you want the realm to look, how you want the town to be reconstituted, how you want these burnt out buildings to be replaced with new buildings that don't look like the old buildings, and new leaders that don't look like the old leaders, and new structures that don't look like the old structures. Because in the same way that the master's tools cannot dismantle the master's house, we don't want to use the master's tools to rebuild the master's house either, right? We want to build a new house. And so in the story, what happens with the circus is that they start ramping up their performances. They start doing more and more dramatic performances, and they start sending their clowns out into the community because they decide it's not enough to have performances in the big tent. They need to have performances all over the realm, and so they now have traveling showmen. And this is because they're trying to overwhelm the people. They're trying to mirror the people, right? They're trying to create these mirrorist scenarios that are overwhelming and that produce fear in the town. And so the only thing that's going to allow the people to continue to withstand this onslaught is for them to understand the bigger picture. The circus came to town to destroy everything, and our job is to recreate things in a new way. And that means our whole emphasis can't be on resist, right? It can't even be on persist. It has to be those things, but also create, right? So we have to have that creation, that vision alongside of our resistance.